I had two people reach out to me this week, one male, one female, to share their story about their mentally unstable ex. And both of them just went on and on and on this long-winded story of how much to blame their ex-partner was, how much they ruined their life, and just blame, blame, blame on this other person. And I was taken back for a second and had to remind myself that we are not taught at any point in life to look for the responsibility in our relationships. The only way we learn that is by finding out through some random way, or when we come to this realization that we all have a part in the way that our life unfolds. Even myself, I don't necessarily take on the victim role. I don't ever take on the victim role, but I do find myself thinking, why do these people keep coming into my life? Why do I keep running into somebody who can't get their shit together and everything is in disarray in their life, and they just keep bringing all their shit storms into my life and creating havoc in my space? And until I realized that that's because I allowed it to come there, that's because I welcomed them in past my boundary into my bubble and brought the havoc into my own space, that I actually am the one in control. So the male, I was like, bro, you do realize that although I'm not disagreeing, she's not crazy, but I mean, by all means, the story that you're telling me, she is completely off her rocker. However, you chose a crazy bitch. You vetted her, you interviewed her, you dated her, you proposed to her, you married her, and you built a life with her. Granted, she wasn't crazy from the gate, but you continued on a path where she just kept bringing the noise and showing you who she was turning into along the way. That's completely up to you to make the decision to jump ship at some point in time if things aren't changing, if you're working on them. But for you to come now and just cast blame, 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 and make her the responsible party for why your life is ruined and why you have to rebuild and why you're now with somebody who is showing you her crazy from the beginning, and you are considering proposing to her, dude, you are the one who is responsible and who has the power to change things. You have a lot of self-reflecting to do. You need a lot of inner work before you even consider bringing somebody else into your own life. And this female, oh, she was just full of it. Never married this guy, but spent a decade and a half, 15 years of her life with him. And he never committed to her, ever. Not just didn't make her his wife or didn't make her his girlfriend, but he just used her for these last 15 years. And she allowed him to do that. And now she's upset that he talks to other women. She's upset that he spends time on the dating scene. She's upset that he that she questions what he's doing. She's upset that he doesn't tell her about everything that he's doing. She's upset that he still welcomes her into her life, but she's got this idea of them in this relationship that he doesn't share the same feelings about her. And instead of her saying, you know what am I doing here? What am I allowing? What am I welcoming into my life? She is calling him names, tearing him apart, reaching out to other people in their mutual friends community and just talking shit about him. And that's not fair. Calling him crazy when you're doing all the crazy work is kind of pointing the crazy finger at yourself, sister. So we don't look at our responsibility or what we have control over, because when things get chaotic, we tend to just focus on the chaos rather than what we have control over. So it took me to this point where really what I was doing was dissecting a relationship and what a healthy relationship is and what a healthy relationship isn't, what love is and what love isn't. And it's, when you think about it, it's not something that has ever been taught. We don't learn it in elementary school and middle school and high school, unless you're taking this path and doing a lot of self-discovery and personal development work, or you stumble upon a podcast or something. We don't necessarily find this. So what I did for both of these people, because my job is to help them find the resources to bring peace to themselves. We cannot fix other people. We cannot change other people. We cannot make the decision to make them want to change. And these people were both reaching out for resources of, why do I keep coming across crazy? This male was about to propose to another crazy female. And I hate to throw the label crazy out there, but people are crazy. So I guess that is what it is. And it's up to him, though, to notice that and to not choose crazy. So in this next step or phase of his life, he can either propose to her and then in 5 years start bitching how she's ruining his life, just like his first ex-wife did, or he can not make the same mistake, break the pattern now, learn what he needs to fix in himself. Is it lack of self-worth? Is it lack of self-love? Is it a dependence issue? Is it a childhood trauma? What is it that he needs to fix inside himself to not make these same mistakes? What is it that this female needs to identify in her past that is allowing her to let somebody walk all over her, that is allowing her to not lay that to rest, leave it be, and move on with her life? She cannot move on with her life. She thinks that her life is dependent on this man that will not commit to her. She thinks that the future happiness that she could potentially have is dependent on this one person. And it's not. It's a lie that they're both telling themselves. So when you think that you need someone to be happy, that's not love. That's lack. Whenever you're coming from a place of lack and you feel like you need something, you are never going to find yourself fulfilled. You cannot prosper from a place of negativity or from a place of lacking. You have to be happy and fulfilled and satisfied with what you have and who you are before anyone else can come into that space and share in that fullness and the happiness and love that you have. If you're thinking that your life is going to be empty without that person, and you just cannot imagine yourself without them or picture yourself alone, and you continue to maintain whatever state of relations you're in with that person, even when you know the relationship is over, even when you know the relationship is toxic, even when you know the relationship isn't going anywhere, even when you know there is no relationship and you're fooling yourself with the idea that there is, it's because you don't have a life outside of that person. That's not love. You don't truly actually love that person. It's dependence. If you are an insecure or jealous person and you'll do anything to keep someone in your life, even when you don't feel loved back, and you say you believe this person, but you question everything they do, you question everything they say to you, you question their choices because you don't think they're being honest or truthful to you, and you persistently assert your dominance in stating that they are yours, you are mine, that's not love either. It's selfishness. This female that I was chatting with, or she was chatting at me, she was so frustrated that this man would not commit to her. And she was so jealous of all of these other women in his life that she was creating hell in his life. And more importantly to her, she was creating the hell in her own life. He wasn't. She kept pulling him in. She thinks she's got this leash on him, and she's only creating this self-suffrage in her own space, in her own heart, because he's not hers. She's claiming him to be hers, but he's not hers. He's not committed to her. So that's coming from a place of selfishness. If there are arguments of any sort, when you are aching with jealousy of one another, when you both are always making plans without the other, and there's typically no agreement in varying situations, and you don't prefer the same things, or you don't even entertain the idea of the other person's preferences, like if they're interested in I don't know, race cars or sports or whatever, if you don't go to the racetrack or sit down and watch a sporting event with them, and I'm not recommending you do either, but if you're not considering or giving space to enjoy your partner's enjoyment of their hobby or their interest, then you always have this strong want to only do what you want to do. And also, you have this strong want for intimacy. That's also not love, it's desire, or what some people might consider lust. So you're not interested in anything they're interested in. You don't want to do anything that they're doing, but you want to physically be with them. That's lust. That's the desire for lust. That's the desire for physical connection. Again, it's not love. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but don't confuse that for love. What love is a deliberate choice. It's not something you just fall into. It's like I said earlier, when this man was seeking out this crazy ex-wife of his, he pursued her. He dated her. He went through this process of engagement with her and planning this life and laying out this life and living this life and having children with her. And he went through all of those steps, those deliberate choices with her, even though she was not panning out to be the person that he wanted. He had the choice, the opportunity at any point in time to take control and say, whoa, things are not going the way that feel good to me. You are not at the mercy of how the wind blows today and how that affects your relationship. The wind and external circumstances do not get to make the decision on whether or not you stay with this person. They don't determine whether or not your partner will make you feel love. Love takes conscious effort. And if you're not both pouring into that, then you cannot blame the other person. You can only take responsibility yourself. When you realize that you are two separate people, two separate entities that come together and unite to form one bond, you will then realize that you don't need to harvest anything from that person because you're both equally pouring 100% into the relationship. Love is a relaxed feeling. It should feel safe and secure, and you should be able to be at ease with this other person. It's stability. There should be no wonder or doubt, or is he talking to her? Is he having a relationship with her? Is she out screwing around with this other guy? Is she talking shit about me to her friends? That's not love. That's always this constant insecure doubt, unsettled feeling. And that doesn't feel good. Love is an action. It's evolving with the person they're always becoming or growing into. It's loving them and being with them through their downs and their imperfections and flaws and the irritating things about them, their shortcomings, their differences from what your beliefs are, and for allowing them to just be their own person, to be their own human being, not allowing your complaints about them to be expressed, and just letting them be who they are and not complaining about that and not allowing them to complain about you. So next time you are in question about your relationship for any reason, remember, you're the one in control. People can only treat you as good as you treat you. So when your relationship is falling apart and when you start to have doubts on whether this person truly loves you, you need to evaluate how you feel about yourself. You need to evaluate, and probably with a counselor or a therapist or somebody that can help you do this work, because it's really hard to look inward from your own perspective. You need somebody standing on the outskirts of what's actually happening, especially when you have to go back, all the way to childhood and look at a lot of your upbringing and the role that your parents or your caregivers had in this. Because trust me, don't trust me. Actually, don't trust me. Do your own work. Look into this, and everything that happened in childhood is what shaped you into the person you are today. Every characteristic about you was shaped pretty much by the age of 7, but your traits and your characteristics all were formed as a young person. So a lot of this is going to be stemming from childhood. So you're the one in control of that. Nobody can change that. So next time you want to bitch about how he or she ruined your life and your relationship or your marriage is crumbled because of that person, even if they're mentally ill or mentally unstable, you played a part. You still made choices. And when you make a choice to be there, just like I did, you make a choice for that to be in your life. Remember, people can only treat you as good as you treat you. So if you're feeling taken advantage of or lonely or neglected, it's time to evaluate the love that you have for yourself or the lack of love that you have for yourself, and realize that there is no single person in this entire world that you should ever hand your life over to besides God.